At dawn, the light in Campania is soft and pale. It turns the fields into a sheet of silver. But the sun does not enter every place. There is a door in the ground, made of thick wood and iron. It looks like the lid of a chest. When the lid opens, the sky is only a strip. Chains run through those rings like a hard river. This is a Roman slave barracks. The Romans have a name for it, an ergastulum. It is a house for people who are used like tools. Tiro wakes to the scrape of a key and the sting of smoke. He is young, maybe 17. His hair is cropped short. His left ankle is raw under the iron band. His back shows old scars, thin and white, like dry vines. He does not remember the sea voyage, only the smell of salt and sickness and the endless push of water. He remembers a market, eyes, teeth, hands, a voice saying, "Strong shoulders." He remembers a brand pressed to his forearm. He remembers the letter burned into his skin. The mark told the world that he was property. The overseer steps down the stairs. He is called a villicus. His name is Marcus, but nobody uses it. They call him master, or they say nothing at all. He carries a rod and a whip. The whip has many leather tails. Lead and bone are tied into the ends. When it strikes, it does not leave a line. It leaves a starburst of pain. "Up," he says. The chains clink, men stand. Some are from Gaul and have light eyes. Some are from Thrace and have thick necks. Some are from Greece and speak softly. Some are from the hills not far from here. They all wear rough tunics and smell of sweat and old straw. Their feet are hard as hooves. Tiro stands last, his friend beside him. Cyrus, a thin man with careful hands, nudges him once. Tiro nods. He has learned to keep his face still, like a mask. In this place, feelings can be used against you. Outside the ergastulum, the air feels bright and sharp. The latifundium, the huge farm, stretches as far as he can see. Rows of vines reach up from the soil like fingers. Olives hang like small moons in the groves. There are sheds for tools, a press for grapes, a mill for grain, a pen for animals, and, guarding it all, a big house where the owner sleeps without chains. The owner is a senator. He is in Rome most of the time, but his power lives here even when he is not here. It lives in the keys, in the whip, in the iron, in the fear. Work begins before the sun clears the hills. The men carry baskets back and forth along the vines. They tie new shoots, they cut old wood, they bend, lift and turn. Each step is counted by the chain. The chain is long enough to work, but short enough to remind. The iron ring around Tiro's ankle bites deeper when the ground is muddy. He has learned to tuck a twist of cloth under the band. If the overseer finds it, he will take it away and laugh. Cyrus works at the mill. This is hard work for a careful man. He walks in circles beside a donkey to turn the heavy stone. His shoulders burn, but his hands stay smooth. He keeps his hands smooth on purpose. He says, "Soft hands can be useful one day." "Soft hands can open locks," he whispers once, when no one is near. Tiro pretends he did not hear. He knows whispers can turn into chains. Around them the day fills with sound. A boy shouts at the donkey, metal scrapes on stone, the press groans, a jar cracks. A woman from the kitchen yells because someone spilled oil. The overseer's rod taps his palm, tap, tap, tap. It is a small sound, but it holds the threat of a larger one. At midday the slaves get bread and a ladle of thin soup. They sit in a half circle and eat fast. Tiro breaks his bread in two and gives a piece to Cyrus. Cyrus gives back a look that says more than thanks. Sharing is fast and quiet here. Anything more can be seen as a sign. Signs bring trouble. Near the barracks there is a wooden post with iron rings set into it. It stands where everyone can see it. This is where men are tied when they are flogged. The leather tails kiss and bite and eat the skin. Some men faint, some scream, some make no sound at all. Tiro has seen this, and he knows every stage, the order, the tying of the wrists, the first strike, the second, the way the body struggles to stay whole. The overseer counts out loud. 1, 2, 3. Numbers become a wall that no one can climb. Sometimes a man is forced to wear a collar, a thick iron ring around the neck with a plate on it. The plate can hold words. Tiro has read one on another man. I am a slave, hold me, I run away. The letters were crooked and deep. The man kept his eyes on the ground. The collar rattled when he swallowed. Sometimes a man is branded again for trying to run. Sometimes he is sent to the mines, which is a slow death underground. Sometimes, if a master wants a lesson that lasts, if the offense is big in the master's eyes, the man is crucified. Everyone knows this. The word sits in the barracks like a cold wind. Crucifixion is not just to kill, it is to break hope in others. The cross stands tall where people can see it. A body hangs there for days. Birds come, children whisper, dogs are driven away with sticks. When the body is taken down, the ground keeps the memory. The memory keeps Tiro awake at night. He has seen one cross on the road near Capua. He was tied to the back of a cart at the time, on the day the merchant brought him from the market. He looked once and then closed his eyes. But once is enough. The shape of the wood stays in his head. The arms and the long stem, the man's feet twisted sideways, the mouth open to the air that would not come. In the ergastulum, nights are long. The air is thick and warm with breath. There is little light. A few holes near the ceiling show a sliver of moon. The iron rings along the wall hold the chain that passes through the ankle bands. The chain is locked at one end. The key sits on a hook near the door above where the overseer sleeps. 2 dogs lie outside the door. They wake if a mouse scratches. Cyrus whispers in the dark. Do you hear it? He asks. Tiro hears nothing at first. Then he hears a small scrape. It is metal on metal. It is the sound of a hand learning a lock. Stop, Tiro breathes. Not now. Cyrus stops. He smiles in the dark, a small smile that Tiro can feel more than see. Soft hands, Cyrus says again. Tiro turns onto his side and pulls his ankle tight to his belly to make the chain shorter. He falls into a half-sleep, full of dust and sun and the shape of a cross. Morning returns. The pattern repeats. Work, bread, rod, whip. The day stretches and then folds. The body learns to move like water between stones. Pain becomes part of the breath, but the mind does not always obey. It drifts to other places. It asks a dangerous question. Is this all there is? One afternoon, trouble finds them. A jar of oil goes missing. Oil is precious. It feeds lamps. It softens leather. It is money in a clay skin. The overseer counts the jars and his eyes narrow. The dogs lift their heads. The air thins. Who took it? He asks. No one answers. The question hangs like a trap. The overseer chooses a man at random. He always does this when he wants to break the group. Today he points to a Gaul with a scar down his cheek. You, he says, step forward. The man steps. His name is unknown to Tiro. He is strong and slow to speak. The overseer ties his wrists to the post. The whip begins its song. 1, 2, 3. Tiro counts in his head, even as he tries not to. By 10, the man is shaking. By 20, he is not a man, he is just a body that answers the whip. By 30, the ground is wet. The overseer stops. The jar, he says again. He waits. He looks at each face. He wants fear to speak. Cyrus's hands are still. Tiro's heart pounds. He knows the jar was not taken by any man in the barracks. He saw a free worker, hired only for the harvest, slip a jar into a cart yesterday. He saw the man do it when the overseer went to the villa to receive orders. But truth is dangerous here. If Tiro speaks, he will be asked why he watched and did not shout. He will be asked why he did not chase and catch. He will be told that a slave who keeps silent is the same as a thief. The overseer orders 2 more lashes and walks away. The man is cut down. He falls to his knees and stays there a long time. No one moves to help. Help is also dangerous. Later, when dusk has softened the day, Cyrus passes the man half of his bread without looking at him. Tiro looks at the ground and feels his stomach twist. He is angry, and he cannot use his anger for anything. It has nowhere to go but back inside. That night, the barracks is quiet as a tomb. The smoke from the kitchen has a bitter smell. Tiro lies on the straw and stares at the dark beam overhead. He counts his breaths until the numbers blur. He listens for the dogs. He listens for the overseer's steps above. He listens for Cyrus's whisper. It comes. "Tomorrow," Cyril says. Tiro turns his head. He can just see Cyrus's outline, thin as a reed. "Tomorrow what?" he murmurs. "Tomorrow, the owner comes from Rome," Cyrus says. "Marcus was counting jars because he wants to show order. When the owner comes, someone will be made an example to prove order lives here. He will choose a punishment that can be seen from the road." The word hangs in the air between them. Crucifixion. They do not say it. It does not need to be said. Some words are so heavy that even their shadow can crush you. Tiro feels his mouth go dry. "Who?" he asks. Cyrus's small smile does not appear. "Maybe the man who was whipped," he says. "Maybe another. Maybe you. Maybe me." A cross says, "All of you are wood in my hands." Silence returns. It is not a peaceful silence. It is the silence of a storm that has not broken yet. The next day, the work begins early again. The sky is clean. The vines are green. Tyrrell moves like he is in a dream. He does his tasks exactly. He speaks to no one. He drinks water and it tastes like metal. He tries to keep his mind small. He tries to be no more than hands and feet. But minds do not stay small forever. They stretch, even when you try to fold them. Near midday, a small group arrives from the road. A litter carries a man with a ring on his hand. The ring has a carved stone. He is the owner's steward, sent ahead to prepare. Behind him come 2 soldiers hired for the day, with short swords and bored eyes. They look at the vines, they look at the men, they look like they are waiting for a spectacle. The overseer stands taller. He walks faster. He shouts louder. He wants the world to know that the farm is a tight ship. The dogs feel the change and start to bark for no reason. In the late afternoon, the missing jar is found. It rolled from a cart and settled behind a mound of earth. The clay is cracked, the oil wasted. The overseer stares at it, and a small, sharp look crosses his face. He knows this makes him look foolish. He also knows that the steward will still want to show. Waste must be punished, even if the waste came from a mistake. Power does not say, "I was wrong." Power says, "You will pay." As the sun slides down, the overseer gives an order. "Bring the posts," he says. 4 men lift 2 long beams and carry them toward the road. Other men carry ropes and nails. People from a nearby farm pause and watch. A cart driver stops and leans on his wheel. The world seems to tilt toward the place where the beams are going. The air tastes of iron. Tiro's hands shake. He cannot stop them. He feels like he is inside a bell that is about to be struck. Cyrus moves close to him as if by accident. Their shoulders touch for a moment and then part. "Soft hands," Cyrus says once more, barely moving his lips. "Soft hands, hard heart. Tonight." Tiro knows what he means now. The lock, the chain, the key, the dogs, the door with no sky. He sees these things in his head in a new way, like a map. He also sees the cross being lifted into place by the road. He sees a man tied to it. He hears the crows settling on the fence. He hears children asking questions and mothers telling them to hush. The steward speaks to the overseer in a low voice. The overseer nods. He points at the man who was whipped yesterday. The man stares back, his mouth open a little. He is pulled forward. The ropes are ready. Something hot arises in Tiro's chest. He looks at Cyrus. Cyrus does not look back. Cyrus is looking at the overseer's belt. The key hangs there on a ring. The sun drops behind the low hills. Shadows grow long and strange. The cross leans against its hole, waiting to be raised. The soldier yawns and scratches his chin. The dogs snuffle and paw at the dust. Tiro cannot feel his feet. In Rome, people talk of law and order. They speak of mos maiorum, the way of the ancestors. They praise hard work and discipline and victory. They speak of citizenship and duty. They build glory on other people's backs. Down here, under the door with no sky, glory looks like a ring of iron and a chain running through it. Order looks like a whip. Law looks like wood set by the road. Tiro swallows hard. He knows the truth now. In a place where everything is taken, the only thing left to choose is when to be still and when to move. He feels the choice press upon him like a hand. The overseer raises his arm. The soldiers stand ready. The ropes go tight. The cross begins to rise. Tiro hears his own breath. He hears Cyrus whisper, "Now or never." He hears the click of metal as a key turns somewhere very close, or maybe only in his mind. And he wonders, if he moves, will he save a life, or only light a fire that will burn them all? The cross rises slow, like a tree pulled back to life. Ropes creak, the hole drinks the post. Dust climbs into the light. People stop in the road. Some stare with flat faces, the way you look at weather. Some make the sign to their gods. No one steps forward to say enough. The man chosen yesterday hangs with his arms tied wide to a beam while they fit the long post. His face is grey. He is awake, but his eyes are far away. A soldier checks the ropes like a man checking a load on a cart. The overseer, Marcus, keeps his jaw tight. He wants this to look clean. Tiro's breath comes short. His body wants to run, but his feet feel nailed to the ground. Cyrus does not look at the man on the wood. Cyrus looks at Marcus's belt, where the ring of keys hangs. The big key is for the door above the barracks. A smaller one opens the chain lock that bides them to the wall at night. Cyrus's lips barely move. "Wait," he whispers. A shout near the gate breaks the air. The steward turns his head. A mule, spooked by the dogs, jerks its halter and kicks a bucket. Oil splashes the ground in a dark flour. The dogs bark and chase the mule. Everyone looks for a heartbeat. Cyrus moves. His body is a line of wind. 2 steps, a brush, a stumble that looks real, a hand that seems to catch his balance against Marcus's hip. Tiro sees the fingers work, quick but soft, like lifting a moth from a window. When Cyrus falls to one knee, he is already holding something hidden in his palm. Marcus shoves him away without looking. Cyrus bows. He is the picture of a clumsy slave. He backs into place, eyes on the dust, breath steady. Tiro cannot believe what he saw. He does not let his face show anything. He knows the most dangerous thing here is not iron. It is a look that lasts 1 beat too long. The cross reaches its full height. The ropes go slack. The steward nods. "Leave him," he says, "until morning." His voice is thin and dry, like paper. It carries the weight of a faraway man with a ring and a seat in the Senate. The soldiers tie off the ropes and walk away to eat. The crowd drifts. A boy lingers until his mother pulls him. The man on the cross hangs between earth and sky. He is not nailed. He is bound with ropes at the wrists and ankles. It is slower like this. The body wears itself down under its own weight. The chest fights for air. It is a death by inches. The Romans use it because it teaches the living to think small. Work goes on, because work always goes on. The press sings, the mill turns, the sun sinks. Men walk like old horses, each step learned by pain. Tiro and Cyrus do not speak again. They do not even walk side by side. They know eyes are hungry today. At dusk they are driven back to the ergastulum. The door with no sky opens its mouth. The bark of the dogs is close and sharp. The smell of old straw and iron and sweat wraps around them like a wet cloth. One by one the ankle bands kiss the big chain. One by one the chain slides through the rings set in the wall. The lock claps shut at the end. The sound is small. It is louder than thunder. Marcus checks the line. He pauses at Cyrus. Cyrus looks stupid on purpose. His eyelids hang heavy. His mouth sits a little open, like a man already asleep. Marcus goes on. Above, the key ring jingles once, and the door thuds closed. Bolts fall. The dogs settle. Night seeps downward. No one speaks for a long time. The air is thick with fear and the day's dust. A man wheezes softly in the dark. Every breath has to climb over bruises. Somewhere a mouse scratches behind a stone. Then the whisper that Tiro has been waiting for finds the short space between their heads. Soft hands, Cyrus breathes. Tiro slides his ankle and makes a small clink to answer. Cyrus moves closer along the chain, iron ring to iron ring, careful not to wake the nearest man. He works by touch. Tiro feels his friend's shoulder brush his arm. He feels the tiny click of metal against metal, not big enough to carry far. He feels his own heart bang at his ribs like a trapped bird. Cyrus holds the small key. He must find the lock at the end of the chain with fingers alone. He must do it while lying on rough straw, with his wrist pulled by the iron band at his ankle, with men sleeping inches away, with dogs outside, with a cross waiting in the road. He must do it without a shake in his hand. He must be perfect. This is the geography of the ergastulum at night, the map Cyrus drew in his head for months. The wall with its line of iron rings, the chain that runs through the ankle bands, the end of that chain looped back to a stout ring and locked, the door above with a bar, the ladder up to that door, the dogs outside, the second lock on the door, the courtyard, the tool shed with the small saw, the boundary ditch, the road, the cross. He finds the lock by the feel of its mouth. He turns the key a hair, another hair, stops when the tumblers click like tiny teeth. He breathes out as slow as smoke. The lock does not open. The key does not fit this lock. He knew it might not. The ring held several keys and he only lifted one. His fingers move again. He tries another hole, the shackle at the ring, not the padlock. Click. No give. He goes still. A murmur. Two men down the wall. Not words. The sweep of a body rolling in straw. Tyra lies like stone. Cyrus, breath touches his ear. The other lock, he whispers, on the door. Tyro's chest tightens. Freedom is not a single lock. It is many. Sirius stole one key. The other sits above with Marcus. Or maybe with the steward. Or maybe in the villa. Or maybe in Rome. A plan made under a roof you do not own must be clay that can change shape. Cyrus changes shape. We open only the loop, he breathes. We slide the chain back through the rings. We leave the rest on their ankles. Only one of us goes. Tiro shakes his head in the dark. Not one, he mouths. Two. Two is slow, Cyrus says. Two is loud. Tiro thinks of the cross by the road. He thinks of the man on it. He thinks of the simple math here. One more body on the cross tomorrow if nothing changes. He thinks of Cyrus's hands, which made a key move like a fish. He thinks of his own hands, which are strong but not clever. He thinks of the dogs. Two, he says again, and does not know if he is brave or foolish. Cyrus works at the lock that loops the chain back. The key does not fit there either. He expected this. He pulls his hand back. Tiro hears a soft scrape like a nail on leather. Cyrus is doing something else. He slides a thin sliver of bronze from under the twist of cloth he keeps hidden by his ankle band. Tiro did not know about this tool. Cyrus saved it from the scrap near the press weeks ago. He polished it on his skin at night. He studied the lock by touch. He learned its pattern the way men learn a song. The bronze slips into the mouth, hunts, finds, lifts. The lock has teeth. Cyrus finds the tooth that matters and presses it with the soft patience of a river. Time becomes a thick thing. Then, click, the loop slackens. The chain breathes. Cyrus does not smile. He feeds the free end through the first wall ring, then the next, as if pulling a rope through hands. Each ring lets the cold iron snake pass. It takes long minutes. On the line, men move in their sleep and smack their lips, but they do not wake. The chain comes away from the wall until, at last, it is only threaded through ankle bands and not tied to the earth. Cyrus touches Tiro's calf. "Lift," he whispers. They lift the chain high enough to pass over the last sleeping ankle bands like a quiet tide. This is the most dangerous part. One clink too loud, one brush against an iron ring, and the dogs will speak. Tiro holds his breath until the inside of his skull rings. At last, the chain hangs like a loose thread across the room instead of a rope through the wall. Two men could crawl under it and leave it lying as if nothing changed. If the door could open. Cyrus points up. The door is 4 steps up a short stair. A bar slides across it. The small key Cyrus took does not fit the bar's lock either. He learns that with the gentlest kiss of metal on metal. They knew this was likely. Cyrus has another idea. He slides the bronze sliver under the bar itself, looking for the groove in the wood. If he can lift the bar off its iron brackets without a sound, the door will open on its own weight. If he works while Tiro counts heartbeats in sets of 60. Outside, the dogs wake and shift, then sigh and fall asleep again. Far away, a night bird calls. The man on the cross does not call. He has saved his breath for staying alive. Ciro's hand moves like a patient spider. Tiro can hear nothing but his own blood. Then something changes in the dark. The bar gives a tiny sigh as wood eases against wood. Cyrus stops. He waits for the dogs. Nothing. He lifts more. The bar rises a finger's width. Another. He cannot lift it farther without showing it through the crack by the doorframe, where a curious eye might notice from the yard. He eases the bar back, less than where it was, but not all the way. He leaves it in the place where a tired hand might think it was set true. He creeps down. He puts his mouth to Tiro's ear. "Not now," he says, "at the changing of the watch." Tiro frowns. "We have only dogs." "Marcus wakes to piss," Cyril says, "always just after midnight. The dogs raise their heads then and sleep again. If they hear the door then, the sound belongs to him." The plan is simple and made from someone else's sleep. It feels like the only plan that can live here. They lie back. They wait in the heat and smell of straw and iron. Waiting is the heaviest part of any plan. Tiro's mind walks to places it is not allowed to go. He sees the sea that took him. He sees his mother's hands washing wool red in cold water. He sees the market with its voices and raised arms and teeth. He sees the collar he read on a man's neck. I am a slave. Hold me. I run away. He sees a cross with no sky behind it. To keep his mind steady, he gives himself facts, like stones laid in a line. There are two kinds of slave farms in the countryside: small places where the master knows the names of his hands, and big places where an overseer knows only numbers. This is the second kind. The ergastulum is legal. Men of standing write about it the way they write about roads. Some say it keeps order, some warn it breeds rage. The law says a master can punish as he likes, but the law also says a citizen must not be killed without trial. A slave is not a citizen. A cross needs no judge. Flaying with the whip is common on farms. Branding is common for the ones who run. Work in the mines is a slow death. Crucifixion is slow as well and meant to be seen. In winter, some owners allow a feast at Saturnalia, when masters and slaves wear each other's hats as a game. Out here, the game is often only in the villa. Down in the ergastulum, the hats do not change heads. He recites these truths inside himself as if they are a prayer. They are not comfort. They are a way to hold shape in a place that rubs all edges down. Time goes thick, and then thin, and then thick. Tiro dozes and jerks awake. He waits for the sound Cyrus promised. At last, up above, a body rolls on wood. A bolt slides. The door groans. Air moves. Footsteps cross the yard. A man coughs. He swears at a dog in a low voice. He stands and pisses against the wall. The stream hits dust. The dog snuffles. Footsteps cross back. The door opens and shuts again. The boat slides. The bar drops with a clack. Silence. Cyrus sits up on his elbows. Tiro crawls to the stair. Cyrus slides the bronze sliver up. The bar lifts again. One finger, two, breath by breath. When it reaches the width of Cyrus's hand, he slides his palm under to take the weight, and Tiro, slow as night, eases the door on its hinges. Wood whispers against wood. Cool air looks in. Now, Sirius says. They do not stand. They move on knees and elbows, bellies low under the loose chain. Cyrus goes first. Tiro follows. The door mouth opens to the yard like a black tooth. The dogs lie on their bellies near the step, heads down, ears folded back. One raises its nose, sniffs, and lets it fall again. The smell of men down below is normal here. The dog's mind reads the air as any other night. Cyrus has one last trick. He reaches into his tunic and pulls a twist of bread he saved, rubbed with the rind of cheese he stole with his eyes and not his hands. He tosses the twist far to the left. The dog's ear lifts, the head turns, the nose finds bread. Teeth work. Cyrus slides past the right-hand dog like a shadow. Tiro slides after him. The yard is a pool of cold and starlight. The big house is dark, except for one lamp in a high room. The steward sleeps there. The lamp makes a gold square on the gravel. The press is a hulking shape. The mill is a ring of darker dark. The road lies beyond the boundary ditch, a grey thread under the sky. Where it bends, the cross stands, a darker needle stitching earth tonight. Cyrus touches Tiro's wrist. They do not run. They walk the way free men walk at night, on their own land. Not fast enough to call eyes, not slow enough to be strange. They flow along the shadow of the wall, behind the tool shed. Cyrus presses the door. It gives. He knew it would. He greased the hinge last week with a thumb of oil, rubbed in as if he were cleaning. Inside, the smell of iron and old wood and dry dirt wraps them. On the rack, the small saw waits where he left it, under a broken basket. He does not take it. The sound of a saw is the sound of guilt. He takes instead a knife with a dull point, a wedge of iron and a coil of thin rope used for tying grape canes. He tucks the wedge into his belt. He rolls the rope into his sleeve. He puts the knife in Tire's hand. "For what?" Tyrrell breathes. "Dogs," Sirius says, "not to cut them, to cut rope, or to cut buttons if we must dress fast in another man's clothes." Another man's clothes. Tyro swallows. He had not let his mind picture further than the yard. Now the picture jumps ahead. The road, the cross, the man on it, the loose rope at his ankles, the downward slope into a ditch, the slope up again on the other side into great rows that hold night like water, the hills, the line of trees. Beyond that a path to the old road to the hills of Samnium, where shepherds still move like ghosts, and no places sober men forget. "Free him and run," Cyrus says, and his voice is a calm stick, not because he can run, he cannot, he will not live, but because the cross will stand empty at dawn. That emptiness is a message. "What if they see?" Tiro asks. "Then we will be the message," Ceres says. They slip from the shed and angle toward the road. The ditch is dry and full of thistle. It hides them well. They crawl along it with their chests in the dust and their hands in thorns. When they reach the place where the ditch rises to the road, Pierre, they stop and listen. The world is a bowl of quiet. Far away, a dog answers another dog. Closer, a man on a cross breathes like a bellows with a split seam. They climb the bank. The cross is taller up close than it was in Tiro's mind. The man on it is heavier than air and lighter than anger. His lips are cracked, his eyes blink slow. He sees them. He tries to speak. The sound is a dry scrape. Cyrus puts a finger to his mouth. He works at the ankle rope first, because the weight on the arms is what steals breath. He slips the dull knife under the knot, wiggles, saws, careful not to cut skin. Rope fibers pop like tiny bones. The knot gives. He moves to the other ankle. Tiro wedges the iron wedge under the post to lift it a finger's width, to ease the pull, to take one grain of pain from the total. He is not strong enough to change the world. He can change one grain. A pebble clicks on the road behind them. Tiro freezes. Cyrus stops. They do not look around. Looking is a sound. They wait. The air holds. Nothing follows. A fox, maybe, a frog. Night has its own hands that drop things in the dark. Cyrus cuts the second knot. The man's legs drop like sacks. He sucks air that does not help. Cyrus slides the rope under his thighs to make a loop and binds it to the post. It is a cruel kindness. It will buy breaths. He moves to the wrist. He studies the knot like a puzzle in a child's game. He finds the belly of it. He slides the dull knife in and turns. The knot sighs. The rope around the other wrist is wet with blood from the skin rubbing all day. The fibers are slippery. The knife chews. The rope gives. The man falls forward, but the thigh loop holds him. He hangs like a man sitting on air. His head drops on Cyrus' shoulder. Cyrus grunts. Tiro slides under the weight. Together they lower him until his feet touch earth. He cannot stand. The body has forgotten its own alphabet. "Brother," Tiro whispers, though he does not know the man's name. "Brother, we will hide you." The man's eyes open and close. His mouth shapes a word that could be water or mother or home. Cyrus takes the coil of great rope and ties a loose band around the post where wrists had been, then knots the ends over the beam in a way that from a distance in bad light looks like arms still tied wide. He steps back. The shape is a lie that buys 10 more breaths of time. They drag the man into the ditch. Thistle bites their arms. Dust fills their noses. Cyrus whispers the plan. Through the vine rows to the old stone culvert. Into the culvert, along the dry stream bed, up to the stand of pines. Hide there until the first light, then into the hills. If the hills open, a voice behind them says, "Don't move." It is not loud, it is not a soldier's voice. It is the voice of a man who has stood many nights and made many small reports to a master. It belongs to Miko, the oldest slave on the farm, who sleeps near the door and always wakes when you change your breathing. He stands on the road with a short stick in his hand. Tiro's mouth goes dry. Miko looks like a child's drawing of a man. Thin, lines on lines, hair like straw, eyes like two holes burned in paper. He does not come closer. He does not call the dogs. He looks at the empty-looking cross and then at the ditch where the shape of 3 bodies presses the thistles flat. "I know what you think this is," he says. "You think it is a way out. It is not. It is a way forward. Those are different." Cyrus's fingers tighten on the wedge at his belt. Tiro's hand finds the dull knife without thinking. The man between them groans. Miko lifts his free hand, palm out, a truce made of skin. "I will not shout," he says. "But you must hear this. In Rome, a man named Gaius once said that if a master is killed by one slave, all the slaves under that roof must die. Do you know this? They killed 400 once in the city when one man was murdered. 400. The Senate debated, the people begged. It did not change. That is the law they carry in their teeth." He points with his stick toward the villa roof. "If you make the cross empty tonight, they will look for the thief. They will not find you in the first hour. In the second they will take 10 at random. In the third they will take 10 more. They will feed the road with men until they feel safe. I have seen this. I have lived too long." Cyrus's jaw works, but his eyes do not leave Miko's face. "So, we leave him to die?" he asks. Miko's voice shakes. It is not fear. It is old anger, too big to hide. "I did not say that," he says. "I said you must think of the fire, not only the spark. If you run now, run with a plan that burns slow and wide, not this, not a brave cut that leaves the rest of us on wood." The night holds its breath. The man in the ditch tries to breathe and fails. Tiro's heart is a hammer with no handle. He looks at the cross, at the false ropes on the beam, at the dark house, at the rows of vines that hold shadows like cups. He looks at Miko, who has lived under bars so long that he can count the grains in the wood by taste. "What then?" Tiro asks, his voice small and sharp. Miko lowers his stick. "There is a way," he says, "but it takes more than 2 soft hands and a knife. It takes weeks. It takes the mill and the press and the road and the village and a mule that will not be missed for one night. It takes a storm. Do you understand? A storm that covers other sounds. The gods will give us one soon. The air is heavy. I can feel it in my bones." Cyrus's breath comes out like a hiss. "He will be dead by then." Miko nods. "Yes," he says, "he will. I am not asking you to let him die. I am asking you to decide what his death will mean." The word "mean" hangs over the ditch like a lamp. It throws light into corners that Tiro did not know were there. Steps crunch in the yard. A dog lifts its head. The steward's lamp throws a gold square across the gravel again. Miko's eyes flick to the farm and back. "You have 1 count of 20, he says. "If you choose to put him back, tie him so the ropes look new, and the steward will go back to bed. If you choose to hide him, I will turn and walk to the well and count the stars and not see you. But if you hide him, do not run. Hide him where they do not think to look. Hide him where a cross cannot reach, and then go back under the door and wait. And if you can keep the key, keep it. The storm will do the rest." He turns. He walks toward the well. His feet make the soft sound old feet make in dust. Cyrus looks at Tiro. Cyrus's face is stone and water at the same time. Two plans live in it and fight. The small one that saves a life for an hour, and the long one that might save many for a lifetime, or kill many faster. The lamp in the yard moves. A voice says, "What is it?" Another says, "Nothing. The dog dreamed." Tiro feels the weight of the man between them, like the weight of a world. He thought the choice tonight was run or stay. It is not. It is choose, the meaning of a death. Tiros puts his lips to Tiros' ear. "Now," he whispers, not as a command but as a question. "Which fire do we light?" In the culver, dry leaves rustle. On the road, a small stone slides by itself. Above the vines, far to the west, a low roll of thunder walks the hills. The thunder rolls again, closer, as if the hills are turning in their sleep. Cyrus's question hangs between them. Tiro looks at the man on the ground. His lips move with effort, his chest fights. His eyes have the far look of one who has walked to the edge and leaned over. Tiro chooses. "We hide him," he says. Cyrus nods once. There is no joy in it, only motion. Together they sling the man's arm over their shoulders. He is heavy with pain, not with flesh. They drag him into the ditch and along the thistle path until the old stone culvert crouches like a mouth in the earth. Inside, dry leaves are piled where water ran in spring. The space is narrow and low. It smells of dust and old cold. Rats once lived here. Now it is empty. They slide the man in and lay him on his side so he can pull air. Cyrus lifts his head and dribbles water from a skin he hid days ago under a flat stone. A few drops reach the tongue. The man swallows like a child, learning again. Cyrus presses a twist of cloth into the wet and holds it to cracked lips. He does not ask the man's name. Names are heavy. Tonight needs light steps. "Brother," Tiro whispers, "listen. We cannot carry you far. We will bring you bread at dawn, if we can. This place is cool. It hides the smell of blood. If they pass on the road, they will not look down. They do not think in low places." The man's eyes move, slow as storm clouds. Maybe he hears, maybe he only hears his heart. Cyrus ties dry reeds together and pushes them across the culvert mouth, a blind made of weeds. From the road, it looks like last season, left here by chance. He wipes the ground with his palm to blur the drag marks. His care is the care of a scribe. Every line he makes must mean. Before they crawl back up, Tiro points with his chin toward the cross. "What if they check the knots?" he asks. "They will not," Cyrus says. "They do not check what they are sure of." He lifts his eyes to the sky. "But we will make them sure." They climb the bank and stand on the road. Cyrus steps to the cross and, with the dull knife, scrapes a little skin from his own arm. He wipes the blood on the rope that he tied to look like wrists. From the road in early light it will read as fresh. He smears dust on the post where their hands had pushed. He moves small stones with the toe of his sandal to match the scatter he remembers. It is a painter's work, the truth in a picture that is also a lie. They walk back along the ditch like shadows that have learned to move alone. At the tool shed, Cyrus hides the wedge where the broken basket was. He returns the knife to the rack but leaves it leaning wrong, a message to himself that only his eye will read in the dark tomorrow. In the yard, the dogs sleep with noses tucked under tails. The lamplight above in the steward's room dims. The square of gold shrinks to a coin, then to nothing. At the ergastulum door, Cyrus and Tiro breathe once together, deep and slow, to make their bodies quiet. Cyrus lifts the bar by a finger's width. Tiro pulls the door. Wood whispers. They slide inside. Cyrus lowers the bar, just so, and steps down into the dark. Now the chain. They pull it back through the wall rings, iron whispering on iron, until the end meets the stout ring. Cyrus feeds the loop into place and sets the lock so it looks true. It will not hold if a man tugs. It will hold the eye of a sleepy overseer at dawn. He slides the bronze sliver back under his ankle cloth. He slides the stolen key under the straw where his hip will hide it. The room smells of men and fear and the sweet rot of old straw. A body near Tiro turns and mutters. Someone sighs. A mouse works in the stone. The night folds over them again like a heavy cloak. Neither sleeps, they do not speak. They wait for the world to wake them with its old noises. At grey light the door opens. The dogs bark, one short bark each, from habit more than alarm. The bar lifts and drops, bolts slide. The overseer clumps down the 4 steps. His eyes are full of sleep and pride. He likes the morning count. It reminds him that numbers belong to him. He walks the line. He does not look at faces. He looks at ankles. He looks at iron. He looks for the thing he knows, order. He finds it. The loop at the wall looks closed. The chain looks true. Cyrus stares at straw. Tiro breathes like a man who has learned to make his breath smaller than a grain. Uck, Marcus says, work. They clink into light. The air is cool and wet. The sky wears a grey skin. Thunder speaks far off. Men glance at it and then at the ground. The day smells of iron, old grapes, and something about to break. On the road, the cross stands like a finger that points forever. From a distance, it looks the same. Up close, a careful eye might see something wrong. No careful eye goes close. The steward eats bread with olives and speaks to the overseer about pressing schedules and the price of olive oil in the market. A soldier, hired for the day, scratches his beard and thinks of the dice game he lost last night in the village. No one thinks about the knots. At dawn, the work begins. Tiro carries baskets and ties vine shoots. Cyrus goes to the mill, walks in circles, and counts steps toward a number that belongs to a plan. Miko, thin as a drawn line, moves like a man who has always moved in the same way. He speaks to no one. He watches everything. The storm comes nearer. At mid-morning, a woman from the kitchen slips to the edge of the vine rows. Her hair is knotted and her hands are red from hot water. She is called Livia. She was born here to a slave mother. She knows the farm's heartbeats. She pretends to look for wild thyme by the path. She does not look up when she speaks. "You went out," she says, almost into the ground. Cyrus does not answer with words. He nudges a small stone toward her sandal. Under it is a folded piece of leather with 3 grains of salt inside. He pushed the salt there before dawn when they came back. He knows she cuts meat. He knows the kitchen counts its salt and always finds it wrong, by a grain or 2. He knows a gift of salt, tiny as it is, says, "We are with you, / are you with us?" Livia leaves the stone where it is. "The steward wants to go to the village at noon," she says. "He will drink, he will boast, he will come back when the sky first spits. Marcus will follow him like a dog with a chain in its mouth." She walks on. A bee hangs over the thyme and chooses another flower. At noon, the steward rides to the village with 1 soldier and a boy to hold the mule. He takes the path by the lower field where the ditch is narrow and the blackberries grow. He passes the culvert. He does not look down. He has never looked down. Men on mules often forget the ground has its own secrets. Tyros and Tiro carry wood to the press. On the way back, Miko falls in beside them, a dry leaf moving with 2 larger leaves. He speaks without moving his lips. "Tonight we begin," he says. "Not the running, the making of the road we will need when we run." "What road?" Tiro asks. "The one made of hands," Miko says, "and habits, and things that break when you want them to break. He outlines the plan in pieces, never all at once, never in one place, never to one person alone. This is how you carry fire where the wind is wrong. You keep it in many small lamps, not in one big torch. Pieces. The mill's wooden pin is old and cracked. If it breaks in a storm, no one is surprised. Without the mill, grain cannot be ground. Men must go to the village mill that night. When the rain is loud, they will need a mule and 2 strong backs. The mule that belongs to the vineyard loaner is kept near the north wall. Its saddle girth strap is always stiff and too short. If someone loosens it by a finger, the mule will slip the strap in the mud and bolt toward the tree. A man must be there to catch it. Our man, not theirs. The press's rope is new, but the knot that holds the weight can be taught to unlearn itself at a pull. Cyrus knows knots. In the roar of rain and the shout of men saving oil, one man can vanish. The dogs sleep dry under the eaves when it storms. They hate cold water on their ears. Livia can spill a bucket near their place and send them seeking a new dry spot in the woodshed. The woodshed door sticks in rain. A small wedge placed now in the hinge will make it stick hard. 2 dogs will be in, but the door will not open out. The steward's lamp oil is in a narrow-necked jar. If the wick is trimmed too short in the afternoon, the lamp will die in wind. He will shout for a light. No one will bring it fast in the storm. A minute of dark is an hour to men moving with purpose. The gate pin is iron and rusted. Vinegar eats rust. Livia can wash the pin with vinegar from the kitchen when she cleans the yardstones. If the pin fails in the storm, the gate will swing and bang. 2 men will run to it with both hands. A donkey brays at thunder. Men shout over brays. Thunder makes whistles vanish, but a bell can still cut through. The small handbell by the press, used to call for more baskets, can be lifted now and hung under the eave by the north corner. If it rings 3 times, men know to run rope to the press. If it rings twice, our men know to go to the ditch. If it rings once, and then once again after a count of 20, it means not tonight. Eyes are too open. In the culvert is a man. He may live to nightfall, he may not. If he dies, we carry him to the elderberry thicket by the old wall and lay him there. We cover him with stones. We give him a name in our heads and speak it once. His death must have a meaning bigger than his body. Cyrus repeats the pieces back with his eyes, not his mouth. Tiro feels the pieces settle in him like seeds. Some will sprout, some will rot. That is the work of a plan. Plant many, count few. He feels fear and something under fear that is not courage but a kind of stand. He did not have it yesterday, he has it now because he chose. The afternoon stretches and tightens. Men move like gears. The sky drops lower. Swallows fly close to the ground. The steward returns from the village with wine on his breath and certainty in his voice. "The cross will teach them," he says to Marcus, loud enough for the yard to hear. "If not that one, the next one." He does not look at the cross. He looks at the men looking at him. The first hard drops of rain hit the dust like thrown pebbles. The yard smells of clay and crushed leaves. The wind changes direction twice. Miko lifts his face and smiles without joy. "It is time," he says, "to no one and to all." Things begin to go wrong in the right order. A cry from the mill. The pin, the great wooden pin that holds the turning beam shears with a dull pop. The circle turns jagged. Cyrus staggers and lets the beam go in a way that looks like honest fear. Men rush. The donkey balks and kicks. The boy at the halter slips in mud. The press rope jerks loose a hand at the knot. The heavy beam dips and hangs. Olive mash slops. Oil kisses the clay and becomes gold streaks that cannot be gathered. Marcus swears like a man who sees money run and cannot grab its tail. The gate pin gives up one layer of rust to the rain and jumps. The gate slams open and shut, like hands clapping for a bad show. Two men run with both hands. Marcus shouts at them to hold it. They hold it. The steward's lamp, carried out under the eave, coughs once and goes dead. He shakes it and shouts for a light. Livia pauses, the way a person pauses when someone calls from far away. She must hear first. She brings a lamp that burns low. The flame ducks in wind and hides. The steward swears and cups his hand. The dogs, pelted with cold rain, scramble for the woodshed. The door grinds on the wedge cirrus, set and sticks. The dogs push and whine and push. The door does not give. They retreat to the far corner under the broken gutter, where the water runs in a line that looks like a chain. They hate it. They tuck their tails and tuck their noses and try to vanish into their own backs. They are no help to anyone now. Under the noise, a small bell rings twice from the eave at the north corner. Once, twice. Mikko hears it and nods like a priest hears a prayer he knows by heart. Cirrus hears it and goes limp at the broken mill, holding his shoulder as if the beam bit him. "My shoulder," he gasps to Marcus. Marcus waves him off with disgust. "Useless," he says. "Go bind it with a rag and come back." Tyrus limps away on a shoulder that is not hurt. Tiro bends to lift a basket and staggers on purpose. He lets the basket fall so it splashes near the steward's sandals. The steward jumps back and glares at Marcus. "Can nothing be done here?" he says. Marcus bows and yells at Tiro to clean it. Tiro kneels in the mud where he cannot be seen from the north corner and then slides away behind the tool shed, like a piece of shadow that got tired of being attached to a man. They meet by the boundary ditch where the blackberry canes lay flat under rain. The ditch runs brown and low. The culvert pulls water into its throat. Inside, the man breathes weakly. He is not dead. He is also not the kind of alive that can last until morning. Cirrus looks at Tiro with a question that is a knife. Do we carry him now, with every eye turned toward noise? Or do we let him stay where the storm says hush? Tiro coils the grape rope over his shoulder. "We carry," he says. They lift, the way men lift a heavy jar together. 1, 2, then up. The man moans and bites the sound back. The rain hides it. They move along the ditch like men who have always moved there in storms. Nobody looks into a ditch when oil runs and lamps die and gates clap. By the elderberry thicket near the old wall, Mikko is waiting. He is wet as a reed. He has brought 2 flat stones and a prayer without a god. They lay the man down. His breath flutters. He opens his eyes and finds Tiro's face like a ship finds a shore. He tries to speak. No words come. Cirrus leans close and whispers into the cup of his ear. "You are not wood," Cyrus says. "You are a man." The man's mouth curls as if he remembers the shape of a smile from before ships and markets and iron. He exhales. He does not inhale again. Rain hammers the leaves. Mikko nods once to honor what Shalar's just left. He puts 1 stone over the man's chest and 1 over his belly. He pulls soil against the edges with his hands and the mud makes a dark seal. "We will come back," he says. "We will bury him when it is right. Now we must be gone before right becomes wrong." They slide back toward the yard. The plan does not end with the body. The plan is only beginning. Mikko points with his chin to the north wall. "The mule," he says. "Go." The mule stands with its head low, ears flattened against the rain. Its girth strap is loose by a finger. Cirrus runs a hand under its belly to check it, and the strap pops. The mule startles and steps back. Cirrus lets the halter slip. The mule walks with purpose toward the broken gate and the washed-out path where mules remember a boy once led them to the trees. Tiro clicks his tongue low, a sound that means nothing to men and everything to animals. The mule goes faster. "Hey!" A boy cries. He runs after it and slips. He goes down hard in the mud. He lies there, blinking, the wind knocked out of him. Marcus curses and kicks at the gatepost. He does not chase. He sends another man. The man lumbers and slips and catches nothing. The mule is gone into rain. Two soldiers stand under the villa eave with their cloaks over their heads. Pay is pay, one says to the other. I am not running after mules for farmer coin. They laugh, the laugh of men who will leave tomorrow and forget these vines.
Beautiful, Cirrus and Tiro vanish into the thick of the vines by the boundary. Under the noise of water and wood and men, the small bell rings once, and then once again after a slow count of 20. Not tonight. Eyes grew too open. The signal says, our work is the plan, not the flight. Cyrus stops. He wants to go on. His whole body is an arrow pointed at the trees. Tiro puts a hand on his arm. It is a small hand on a big thing. Not tonight, Tiro says, and hears inside those words the bigger thing that Miko said in the road, a way forward, not out. They wait a count of 50 under the vines while Rain writes hard lines on their necks. Then they walk back into the yard openly, like men sent to fetch rope who were caught by thunder on the far side of the shed. Marcus yells at them without looking. The steward shouts that the mill must be fixed by dawn. Cirrus holds his shoulder and nods. Tiro lifts a basket and shoulders it like any other day, any other storm. By darkfall, the worst passes. The press knot is retied, bad but good enough. The mill pin has a peg driven through as a bandage. The gate pin is hammered back and greased with pork fat that will harden into a seal. The dogs find a dry patch at last and curl into a single shape. The steward lights his lamp and it stays lit. He drinks and speaks of order to the air. Marcus counts men in the yard and does not notice that 2 came out of the vines at the wrong time. At night, they go back under the door with no sky. The bar drops, the bolt slides, the chain bites the iron rings along the wall. Cirrus and Tiro lie between men who breathe heavy with the day. Miko's slow breath ticks the dark. Olivia, in the kitchen, ties a piece of string around her wrist, a knot that reminds her of a promise. In the culvert, Rain washes the floor clean. In the elderberry thicket, 2 flat stones hold down a story that will not stay down forever. Tiro cannot sleep. His skin feels too small for his body. He watches the dark beam above until it becomes a river that carries his mind. He tries to count breaths and the numbers slide away. He thinks of the man's last little smile. He thinks of the mule's ears. He thinks of the bell that spoke twice. He feels the key against his hip bone under the straw, like a hard little moon. Cyrus whispers, soft hands. Tiro reaches across the small space and finds Cirrus's wrist. He squeezes once. This is not a plan. It is what men do in the dark when plans are heavier than they can carry alone. Days pass. The storm left more than broken wood. It left a story that men tell each other. The gods were angry, the rope was bad, the gate hated the wind, the mill was tired. It left a habit. When the sky spits, Marcus now checks the gate first. He always turns his head that way at the first drop. That turn is a hinge in a door that is not yet built. The plan grows roots. Livia begins to set aside crusts and cheese rinds and hard pears with spots. She hides them in places only rats and the brave look. Miko sketches the yard on his palm with a wet finger and then wipes it away when a shadow passes. Cirrus fixes the mill with honest work and dishonest care, so it will be strong this week and break next week where he chooses. Tiro learns the mule's smell and the way its left ear ticks when thunder is not near. He learns the village path by looking down when he should look up. He learns which soldiers talk more than they listen, which hired men boast, which boy believes every word, which dog sleeps like a stone, and which dreams with its legs, running toward a rabbit it will never catch. They build a road made of tiny things, a bent nail, a loose peg, a bell moved 1 hand's breadth, a jar pushed to the back of a shelf, a scrap of leather hidden under a stone, the knowledge of how long it takes to run from the gate to the north corner and back if you are 20, 30, 50. They harvest time the way they harvest grapes, slowly, with many hands, the bunches hiding under leaves until they are ready. Rome is far, but it is also here. A traveler at the well says there will be games next month to honor a general who won a war across the sea. He says the city is full of banners and speeches. He says the poor are given bread and raisins to make their mouths sweet, so they will cheer. He laughs, he spits, he rides on. The words drift in the yard like smoke. Tiro thinks how the city feeds joy into mouths, while the countryside feeds iron into ankles. He thinks how the same state that hangs garlands on doors also hangs men from wood on roads. He does not have a word like state. He has a picture, a hand with two faces. At night, the ergastulum is a school. Miko teaches without chalk. He teaches with stories of failures because those keep men alive. He tells of a man who tried to run in a clear, bright noon because he woke brave. He tells what the dogs did then. He tells of a woman who hid bread in her hair and fed 3 children with it before a kitchen girl with quick eyes saw crumb on a shoulder and guessed the rest. He tells what happened to both. He tells of a winter when Saturnalia was allowed into the yard, hats changed heads, and laughter jumped the line, and how, when the hats went back, a whip made sure laughter did not cross the door again for 3 years. Remember, he says, voice low, they own the day. We must learn to own the moment between two things, the space after a lamp goes out and before another is lit, the breath a man takes before he speaks, the step between gate and yard. The world is made of those small places. That is where we live. Cyrus listens with his eyes closed, counting those places with his fingers against the straw. Tiro listens and feels the small places in his bones. The man by the road, no longer on the road, has a name now, even if no one speaks it aloud. In the dark, Tiro calls him Stone Brother because of the 2 flat stones that keep his rest. When Tiro's fear rises like hot water, he thinks of Stone Brother and finds a place to put the water down. One evening, a week after the storm, the steward receives a message from town. A magistrate will come to inspect the latafunya in the district. There have been disturbances, the letter says, at farms farther south. A rumor of stolen tools, a rumor of a burned cartwheel, a rumor of men singing work songs too loud on purpose. The steward frowns and rubs the seal between thumb and finger. Marcus hears the word inspect and looks at the yard like a man sees his house through a stranger's eyes for the first time. Inspection means 2 things, more eyes and a chance. It means locks are checked and keys counted. It also means the ones who count leave afterward. And when they leave, men loosen the belts they tighten to be looked at. There is always a slack after a visit. Miko smiles his old, tight smile. Slack, he says, is when rope slips. They move the bell again, a hand's breadth higher. Livia pretends to scrub the threshold, but she pours oil into the cracks so the bar will slide quieter for one night. Cirrus takes the small saw from the tool rack and blunts 2 teeth so it will cut slower, but sing less. Tiro runs the mule at dusk until the animal learns to love the north path more than it loves the yard. He scratches the mule's jaw in the place where flies always bite. The mule leans into his hand and closes its eyes. Trust is another road. On the morning of the inspection, the sky is clean. Men line up. The magistrate wears a white band over his tunic to show he carries a city in his belt. He asks questions about harvest, about yields, about losses to weather. He glances at the ergastulum door and nods in a way that means it is where it should be. He looks at the cross by the road and says, a pity, the way you say a pity about a broken wall. When he rides away, dust hangs in the air like a curtain. Marcus lets his shoulders drop 1 finger. The steward laughs at a joke that is not funny, because he likes the feel of laughter in his mouth when fear is gone. The boy runs to the kitchen for figs. The soldiers ask Livia for wine. She pours slowly. Miko's eyes find the sky. The wind has changed. Clouds build behind the hills, small at first, then shouldered together like men pushing a cart. A second storm is being born, not as big as the first, but full of wind and quick dark. He looks at Cirrus, he looks at Tiro. He does not speak. He lifts his hand and rubs thumb and finger together as if he is feeling salt. The small bell under the eave rings once. Then it rings once again after a slow count. Not tonight again, or is the bell fighting the wind? Tiro's heart stumbles. Cyrus's jaw tightens. Miko's head turns toward the sound, and his old eyes narrow. The bell swings and speaks a third time, a short, sharp cry the wind carries wrong. 3 rings. Rope to the press. Chaos. Or is someone else at the bell? A shadow moves by the corner. The kitchen boy. He tugs the cord like a child who plays with anything that hangs. Livia swats his hand and he runs, laughing. The yard does not know what was almost said and then unsaid. Tyrus breathes out hard. He looks at Tiro. Tonight, he whispers, or the rope will rot in our hands. Lightning crawls along the far ridge like a slow worm. The wind brings the smell of rain and something else. Smoke, faint and strange. Tiro does not know where it comes from. Maybe a shepherd burned stubble in a field. Maybe a cartwheel dragged. Maybe the gods lit a little lamp to see what men would do next. He reaches into the straw at his hip and feels for the stolen key. For the first time since that night, his fingers touch nothing. Their key is gone. Thibault's fingers close on straw and air. No metal, no moon in the hay. The place at his hip where the key slept is empty. A strange cold moves through him. It is not fear at first. It is the feeling when a step is not where you thought a step would be. Seer sees his face change. He knows before Tiro speaks. The key, Tiro whispers. It is gone. Cyrus's jaw hardens. He does not look around. He keeps his eyes on the ground like a man thinking about baskets. When, he asks. Tiro shakes his head. I do not know. He sees last night, in a rush, work, straw, sleep that did not come, the sound of rats, the old beam above. And he cannot find the moment when the key left him. Shame crawls up his neck. He feels small and clumsy. He wants to dig into the earth and hide. Look like you lost nothing, Circe murmurs. Keys leave, plans breathe. Miko drifts close, like a dry leaf in wind. Tiro does not speak it out loud, but Miko reads what sits in his face. His old eyes grow soft and then sharp, like a knife wrapped in cloth. Who? Circe asks, voice no louder than a breath. Not me, Miko says, and there is no hurt in it, only a fact. Not Livia, she would leave a sign for you if she moved it. Not the boy, he would wave it like a prize. Not the steward, he does not touch dirt. Not Marcus, Marcus would pull it from your skin with the rod in daylight and sing about it. Then who? Tiro asks, and the word feels like a stone he must carry. Miko tilts his head toward the far end of the yard where the hired men stand under the eave. They joke about dice and figs. They borrow hooks and do not return them. They work for coin when harvest is heavy, and then they go back to their little houses on rocky land. They like to walk near the villa and look like they belong. A hired man, Miko says. Maybe. Or a man who wants Marcus to think he is loyal. His mouth tightens in that old, hard line. Or a man who is loyal, but to the wrong thing. Cyrus hears more inside that than the words say. You mean there is someone who will sell us to buy himself a day, he says. Miko nods, once, as if he has seen that sale many times and stopped counting. The wind comes from the west and brings the smell of rain and the thin taste of smoke again. Men look at the sky and then at the cross by the road out of habit, the way you check a wound you know is healed but still aches in rain. The second storm walks closer. The yard holds 3 fires now, the weathers, the plans, and the small one lit by a missing key. None can be seen, all can burn. Diaries does not chase the lost thing with his eyes, he builds the plan again with his hands. We still have the bar, he says. The bronze picks it, we have the bell, we have the mule, we have the storm. Tiro nods. He feels the shame settle into something he can carry, like the weight of a basket, not a boulder. He sees clearly the root of this. He put a whole plan under one small piece of iron. That is not how things live long in this place. In the ergastulum, you do not put your soul in one lock. You make many doors. He looks at Miko. We go tonight? Miko's eyes go to the eave where the bell hangs and swings a hair in the freshening wind. Yes, he says, but not the big going, not yet. He leans in, his voice is a low thread. Tonight, we move the fire from this farm to the next road. If Marcus runs east when the gate breaks, we must need him west. If his eyes learn to turn left at thunder, we must teach them to turn right. We must make him stupid with habit. How? Tiro asks. By giving him a new story, Miko says, "Tonight there will be a theft that is not a theft. A fight that is not a fight. Noise that sounds like men, made by rope and empty jars." Cyrus smiles without joy. "A play," he says. "Yes," Miko says, "a play for a small audience. Marcus is the only one who matters." The afternoon is busy with things that look like work and are also not only work. Livia moves through the kitchen, counting aloud in a way that sets a beat. One jar for oil, one for the steward's room, one for the hall, one for the bath. She sets the narrow neck lamp oil, always half hidden near the front of the shelf. She makes it easy to find. That means it will be found first when hands move fast in dark. The real oil sits low and left. Cyrus fixes the mill after the storm, with care and quiet, the smallest weakness. He shaves a peg a hair too slim and oils it too well. It will sing when it spins. It will sing too smooth. When the sky spits, it will slip, not break, slip loud enough to wake a dog. Tiro walks the mule to water and counts steps from the north wall to the ditch, from the ditch to the blackberry thicket, from the thicket to the old culvert. He learns the count with his feet, not his mouth. He feels how the earth slopes a finger to the left near the third olive tree. He feels where the path holds, even when the rain makes most ground like soap. The hired men belly laugh under the eave. One has a scar on his chin and a coin with a hole in it tied to his belt. He is called Carbo. He watches the yard with a narrow eye. He sees more than he should for a man who works only for grapes. He does not sweat much. He speaks soft in Marcus's ear when others walk by. He is the kind of man who lives well near a master. Carbo's eyes slide over Tiro when Tiro passes the eave with the mule. The look is not long. It is long enough. Tiro feels the look like a cold finger down his back. His hand goes to his hip out of old habit and finds nothing there. He keeps his face blank and walks on. He gives the mule a scratch under the jaw as if that is all he knows. "Soft hands," Cyrus murmurs when Tiro comes back by the press. It is a password and also a prayer. Even lowers its lid. The steward checks the cross from the villa steps with a thin nod, satisfied with the shape of control against the sky. He does not go close. He never does. Marcus walks the yard like a dog on a line, nose up, testing the wind for trouble. He smells rain and pride. He does not smell rope. The first drops hit dust. They pop like seeds in a fire. The wind turns once, twice, and comes firm from the hills. Lightning scratches its light on the ridge and wipes it away. Somewhere a ewe bleats and the sound runs along the ground. The bell under the eave rings once. Then it rings once again after a slow count. Not tonight, last time. Is it the same? No. After the second ring, a third follows, quick and sharp. Twice, then three, go to the ditch, after the rope, to the pressed chaos first, then move. The pattern they set, the pattern they taught themselves in whispers over straw. Things go wrong in the right order again, but not the same wrong. This is a new song in an old key. The mill sings too smooth and then slips. The beam jerks. The donkey stops. The boy shouts. Men rush and grab. In the shout, Livia's lamp in the hall dies, then flares, then dies again. She swears like a woman who hates poor oil. She means to swear. Marcus hates poor oil. He snaps his head toward the kitchen door and takes 3 steps that way. Before the gate slams once, a big hand hitting wood. His body turns half. He is a man made of habits tugged by strings. The dogs bolt for the woodshed and scratch at the door. The wedge holds. Their nails sing a sad, fast song on wet wood. They are loud, and their loud is in the wrong place to help men see. This is part of the play. On the north wall, near the blackberry, a rope that looks like a vine is tied to an empty jar hung high. Wind yanks the rope. The jar bangs the wall with a sound like someone throwing something heavy to get attention. Carbo's head snaps toward it. He steps that way, not because he cares about jars, but because he wants to be first to see a thing and tell the story. Miko moves like a shadow and sets 2 more ropes in motion. One slaps a stack of staves near the press so they chatter like teeth. One jerks the loose pin he oiled this afternoon on the back gate. Not the big gate Marcus checks now by habit, but the small, narrow gate by the storage shed. It gives a little cry and swings an inch. In rain, an inch looks like a door wide open. Back gate, someone yells. Marcus whirls like a struck ox and runs that way with two men. The steward shouts for a lamp again. Olivia brings one that burns true. She brings it slow. Sirius claps a hand to his shoulder and makes a face of pain. Again, he says to no one and limps toward the shed. Tiro melts into the crease where wall meets ditch. He is a small piece of night wrapped in wet wool. He hears his own breath and the song of jars and the dog's frantic feet. He hears Carbo's voice near the north wall say, "Who is there?" He hears no answer because there is no one there. He hears thunder. He hears the bell again. 2 short rings now, under the noise. The second call, ditch! He slides into the mud. He moves like a snake, ribs close to earth, elbows low. He reaches the blackberry thicket and feels the thorns like teeth. He smiles once, quick and hard. Teeth mean cover. He wriggles through and comes to the old stone culvert mouth. It is dry again after a week. The storm's water runs a different way tonight. He slips inside and waits, heart punching, eyes wide and dark. Cyrus arrives, a breath later, fast and quiet, a shadow with a wet crown. Behind them, Maiko's outline fills the culvert mouth for a blink. He looks back at the yard and then down at them. Not far, he says, only to the mule. Then wait. Not tonight is not never, not with a missing key. Cyrus nods. He hates the word wait. He knows it is the only word that keeps men alive. They crawl through the culvert and out the other side where the ditch bends. There, under a low pine, the mule stands tied to a root that looks like a hand. Its ears flick in rain. It makes a small noise in its throat, the sound of an animal that knows the men who come to it. Tiro strokes its jaw. Cyrus slips the knot. They do not mount, they lead. A mule's back in rain is a story told from far away. They move 20 steps along the ditch to a hollow behind a fall of stones where vines climb like old men. It is a pocket in the land that hides men and hoards sound. Miko found it years ago when he hid from a winter wind to breathe where the air did not cut. He named it the Cup in his head. He never told anyone until the night of the first storm. Now he points with his chin and they slide in. Here, he says, you vanish. If the yard goes bright with torches, you wait. If the yard goes black with a sudden dark, you move. Listen for the bell. If it does not speak again, count to 200 slow and go back the way you came. Leave no line in the mud that a dog can read. Even a tired dog can read mud. Where will you be? Tiro asks. By the back gate, Miko says, teaching Marcus to love the wrong hinge. He leaves. He is gone before they draw the next breath. In the cup, the world shrinks to rain and mule breath and the soft slap of drops on vine leaves. The mule leans its head into Tiro's chest as if he is a tree. Cyrus rubs its neck. He counts the bell strokes that do not come. He counts thunder. He counts his anger at the lost key. And then he lets that anger run out through his fingers like water, because anger that stays makes hands shake at the wrong time. Chiro's ears search the night. He hears Carbo's voice again, closer to the ditch than comfort likes. I heard something, Carbo says. I heard rope, another voice snorts. You hear coin in rain. Go home. Carbo laughs once, sharp and thin. When this farm bleeds, I will be dry, he says. He spits. His spit hits mud like a small drum. He walks on toward the small gate where men shout and Marcus curses a hinge. Royal to the wrong thing, Tiro whispers. He thinks of Carbo's coin with a hole tied to his belt. He thinks of what kind of hole lives in a man who likes to be near the rod. Lightning stutters. For an instant, the yard is a white drawing, men angled against wind, a gate like a mouth, jars swinging, ropes pulled, a thin man at a hinge with his hands where force and leverage kiss. Then dark again, then a sound like a skin torn. The small gate's pin gives, sudden and loud. It swings wide. Men shout. The steward yells, hold it! Hold it! Marcus shoves 2 bodies into the gap. They push and pant and curse. The big gate slams, forgotten. The habit they learned is unlearned for 1 minute. That minute is a place. The kind of place, Miko says, we must live. The bell under the eave rings 3 times now, Fash, pressed by Olivia's hand when she sees Marcus's back turned to the north corner. 3 means rope to the press, chaos again. It also means to the few who know that the yard's eyes have all turned one way. Cyrus leans into Tiro. This is the breath before a word, he says. This is where we speak. They move not to the road, not to the trees, not tonight. They move to the tool shed. In the noise and rain, 2 shapes can cross a yard like any 2 shapes. They round the shed's corner. Inside, the smell of wet wood and cold iron rises. Cyrus finds the small saw with its blunted teeth and kisses its handle with thumb and forefinger. A lover's hello. He takes a coil of real rope. He takes 2 nails as long as a finger. He takes a thin chisel and slides it into his sleeve. Tiro finds a sack and fills it with old pegs and wooden pins, bits a farm needs to keep turning. He shoulders the sack. They are stealing nothing and everything. Why these? Tiro whispers. Because when a pin breaks, a day breaks, Cyrus says. Because when a day breaks, a night opens. Because we will take the farms tomorrow to pay for our road. They slip back to the cup. The mule flicks its ears and accepts the new weight that will hang on its back when the time comes. Cyrus ties the coil of rope across his chest. Tiro presses the sack into the hollow and covers it with vine leaves. The cup keeps secrets. The rain lessens to a thick mist. The wind shifts. The lightning goes farther off, walking the hills toward the sea. The yard's noise falls to grunts and short words. The small gate is tied with a band of wet leather and a prayer. Men lean their backs to catch their breath. Marcus stands with hands on knees and spits hard. The steward shakes water from his hair and laughs at nothing, which is how men say it is done when they have stopped something they should have fixed last week. The bell does not ring again. Cyrus touches Tiro's shoulder. 200, he says. They count slow. They do not hurry the numbers. Haste lives where dogs live. When the count is done, they put their hands on the mule's jaw once, a thank you. They lead it back to the root hand and tie the knot they can untie in the dark with cold fingers. They push the leaves back over the sack. They slide along the ditch, under the blackberry, through the culvert mouth, into the yard's edge. They rise from mud as if they have always been there. Marcus notices them and snaps, "Where were you?" Cyrus holds up the coil of rope across his chest and says, "Rope," like a soldier says sword. Tiro lifts his hands to show mud and new scratches and says, "Gate," as if his body is a proof that is easier to see than a word. Marcus grunts. He wants to be angry. He is too wet and too tired. He waves them away. He counts heads. He counts jars. He counts pegs in the mill. He does not count nails in the tool shed. He does not see a sack under vine leaves in a stone cup beyond a ditch he never walked. He does not think about what tomorrow needs in order to look like today.
They go back under the door with no sky. The bar drops. The bolt slides. The chain runs through the ankle bands. Cyrus settles on straw. Tiro lies on his back and watches the old beam. His breath slows. The missing key is still a hole in his side, but the hole teaches him this. The plan cannot hang from one small tooth of iron. It must grow roots like vines. Many, hidden, stubborn. Nico lies near the steps and says into the dark, "For all and for none, the law is a wall. We do not break it with our heads. We feed it water where it is weak. We wait. We listen. We push when the stone sounds hollow." No one answers. Men sleep. The ergastulum hums the old low song of breath. At dawn, the sky is clear. The world looks washed and new. The steward rubs his eye and says, "Order," as if he made the day. Marcus shows him the back gate and says, "Fixed," and waits for praise. The hired men grumble about wet boots. Carbo watches the ditch and the blackberry while he chews a fig. He spits the skin and says, loud enough for Marcus to hear, "Foxes took something in the night." Marcus shrugs. He does not care about foxes unless foxes carry jars or coins. Work returns. But the plan has learned to walk. Days stack like jars on a shelf. Each day a small thing moves the way a root moves soil. A peg shaved, a knot taught to lie. A jar shifted, a habit trained. Livia starts a rumour for Carbo's ear and then lets him catch her setting a lamp right that she set wrong on purpose. He leans near her shoulder and breathes wine. He nods like a man who owns a clever thought and will spend it later. He is a rope they will pull when the time comes, and it will pull against the wrong post. A traveller stops at the well and speaks of trouble south. He says men in the fields there found tools missing and then found them again in a pile by the road in the shape of a cross. He laughs, then stops laughing when Miko's eyes meet his. He rides on. The shape sits in the yard like a quiet insult. Cyrus's mouth lifts at one corner. Tyro feels a fire in his chest that is not rage, it is something harder and cleaner. On the seventh night, a new moon is a thin cut on the sky. The air is dry, the dogs sleep heavy. The bell under the eave does not move. The plan whispers that this is not a night for storms. It is a night for steps. Miko's hand finds theirs by the door. He does not bring a key, he brings the bronze sliver and a strip of wet leather. He slides the leather under the bar ends, lifts with the sliver, and the leather kisses the wood so it does not squeal. The bar rises. The door opens a finger. Air moves like a cat. Tonight, Miko says, we take more than rope. We take a voice. What voice? Tyro asks. The steward's, Miko says, on wax. He means the seal that sits like a small red sun on the steward's table, pressed by a ring to mark orders. With wax and a seal, a man can become a message. A message can move mules and open village gates and hire carts. A message can take 10 men off a farm for a night to fetch wood for the press from the hills, while those 10 men step into the dark and do not come back. Cyrus's eyes flare. He has always loved tools. A seal is a tool. Wax, he says, tasting the word. Miko nods. Livia can warm it, you can copy it, Tyro can carry it. He looks at Tyro. Because you walk like you belong when you choose to. They slide into the yard. The villa's upper lamp glows like a small star. The steward snores in the high room. Livia's shadow moves in the kitchen. Carbo, drunk, sleeps near the eave, with his back to a post and his mouth open. The dogs do not stir. The night holds its breath again, the way it did at the first storm, as if it knows men are about to change it. They cross the yard, 3 shapes in a line, soft as smoke. And from the shadow by the small gate, a voice says, quiet and smooth, looking for this? Carbo steps out. In his hand, between finger and thumb, the stolen key shines in moonlight, wet with oil. He smiles with one side of his mouth. It is not a nice smile. Give it back, Cyrus says. Too fast. Carbo laughs once. No, he says. He tosses the key, and it arcs and lands in the dirt with a small sound. Then he puts his heel on it, gentle, as if it is not worth much. His eyes go to Marcus's window. Dark. He pitches his voice so it will not carry far. You think I am a dog that brings bones. I am a man who brings masters what they want before they know they want it. What do you want? Miko asks, flat. Carbo's head tilts. I want to be inside when the inside changes, he says. I am done with outside. Cyrus's hand closes on air where a knife is not. Tyro feels his own breath go thin. The night is a coin being turned. It will land and show one face. Carbo takes his heel off the key and nudges it toward them with the toe of his sandal. It slides a little and stops. He looks at Cyrus, at Tyro, at Miko. He sees men, not wood. I can wake the yard, he says. Or I can help you take the seal. Both are true when I speak. Which truth do you want? The key lies between them like a small sun fallen from a ring. Lightning is far away tonight. No storm will cover a wrong step. The bell is still, the dogs sleep, The steward snores. The door with no sky is open. A finger. Tiro looks at Cyrus. Cyrus looks at Miko. Miko looks at the key and then at Carbo's face, where a hungry thing lives. This is the breath before a word. Which word will they say? The key lies in the dirt. Moonlight touches it. Carbo's foot is inches away. His voice is soft. His eyes are sharp. The yard sleeps. The dogs sleep. The bell is still. This is the breath before the word. Miko speaks first. Inside has two doors, he says. One opens to the master. One opens to the men. Choose now. Carbo's mouth bends. I have chosen many times, he says. Each time I choose the master, I am poor. Each time I choose men, men fail. Give me something stronger than hope. Cyrus answers without heat. Not hope, he says, work. A road. A thing that will walk when we are gone. Carbo looks at Tiro. And you, he asks, what do you offer? The leader keeps his voice low. A life that belongs to you, he says, not a borrowed one. Carbo's laugh is a short breath. He lifts his heel from the key and nudges it again so it shines. Take it, he says, but you will also take me, and I will take a price. What price? Miko asks. I want to stand on the road when your road begins to move, Carbo says. Not behind, not far away. On it. Done, Miko says at once. Cyrus blinks. He would have argued. He would have tested Carbo with questions. Miko does not. Miko knows the thing that lives in Carbo is hunger. Hunger must be tied to work, or it eats the wrong house. Carbo picks up the key and tosses it to Cyrus. Cyrus catches it and feels the small sun again in his palm. Carbo steps close. He smells of wet wool and old wine. There is a boy on watch by the villa's stairs, Carbo murmurs. He sleeps with his mouth open. He always sleeps with his mouth open. He will wake if a door squeals. He will not wake if he hears whispering. Two dogs lie by the kitchen. They hate cold tiles. A pan of water tipped there will make them move to the woodshed. The steward keeps his seal in a small wooden box with a leather tie. He keeps the tie sloppy. The knot remembers nothing. I can talk to Marcus by the back gate for 2 counts of 60 if you ring the bell twice, and then twice again. That is my gift. What do you want now? Cyrus asks. Carbo shows his coin with the hole in it. Tie this to your mule tonight, he says to Tiro. I want to know, my coin is leaving this yard with the first step. If you fail, I cut it off and keep it. If you live, I will find that coin again one day. Where it is, I will know I am welcome. Tiro nods. He holds out his hand. Carbo drops the coin into his palm. It is light and smooth. It feels like a promise and a weight. Tiro tucks it into his tunic. Go, Carbo says. Do not be clever, be clear. He turns to the small gate, melts into the dark, and becomes a voice near Marcus's ear. The voice says, I think the back hinge is loose again. Marcus grunts. He moves that way, pulled by his new habit. Carbo's gift begins. Livia steps out from the kitchen with a pan and trips on purpose. Water spreads across the tiles where the dogs lie. They lift their heads, lick, snort, and trot to the woodshed with offended dignity. The wedge sings its small wood song and holds the door. Cyrus and Miko move to the villa stairs. The boy on watch sleeps with his mouth open. A fly could walk in and out. Cyrus slides the bronze sliver and the strip of wet leather under the bar. The bar lifts like a breath. The door opens like a sigh. Inside, the hall smells of oil and wax and the faint sweetness of figs. They cross to the steward's room. His snore is a slow saw. On the table sits the small wooden box. Cyrus unties the leather with 2 fingers, offended at how easy it is. Inside lies the seal, a round stone in a metal cap, the face carved with a sign, 2 crossed vine shoots with a little bird perched above. Beside it lies a stick of wax wrapped in linen. Cyrus holds them in his hand. They are warm already, as if they want to be used. "Quick," Miko says. He carries a small bowl of water that Livia heated to blood warm in the kitchen. Cyrus sets the seal face down in the warm water. That softens bits of old wax in the cuts and clears the tiny lines. Livia's shadow fills the doorway a moment and then vanishes down the hall. Cyrus lifts the seal, blots it on his sleeve, and presses it into a pillow of soft beeswax Livia brought in her palm. He turns it a hair and lifts it. The impression is clear. The vine shoots, the bird. He presses again to make a second. He lets both harden in cool air. He does not need to steal the seal. He needs to copy its voice. Miko stands by the door. He listens to the house breathe. He hears the way beams settle in night, the way a man turn in wine sleep, the way a lizard scratches plaster. He hears all the small things that are not danger. He hears no big thing. He nods once. "Good," he whispers. Cyrus wraps the 2 wax faces in cloth and gives them to Tiro. Tiro tucks them into his tunic, near the coin with a hole. Those 2 small circles press against his chest like 2 hearts. "No, the letter," Miko says. Livia returns with a tablet, a wooden frame filled with black wax and a stylus. The tablet belongs to the steward. He uses it to make quick notes before copying them in ink. Livia holds out the stylus. "What will the words be?" she asks. "Simple," Miko says. "Simple is true." He dictates. Cyrus writes, "To the village warden, send 10 hands with the mule to fetch spare staves and olive-press beams from the woodman beyond the west hill. Work must not stop. Give 3 pecks of barley for the road. Return before dawn." Cyrus scratches the words into the wax. His letters are neat and small. They look like a careful man wrote them in poor light. He adds the steward's name. He dries the tablet with a breath. He warms the wax stick near the lamp and presses a dab beside the words. He picks up the real seal and sets it, light and sure. The vine shoots and the bird appear. The little bird looks as if it could fly off the wax. Cyrus smiles with the corner of his mouth. "Leave the real seal," Miko says. "We will use the copy after this. Tonight, we want them asleep." They set the box back. They tie the leather the way the steward ties it, sloppy. They leave the room. Livia wipes the table with a cloth, lifts the lamp, and covers their shadows with shadow. The boy by the door snores. The bar goes back to its bed. The door closes. In the yard, Carbo holds Marcus in talk for one more count. He squints at the hinge, points at nothing, and makes a face the way men make faces when they want to look useful. Marcus grunts approval without hearing. Carbo nods as if he has been praised. He steps away before praise turns into orders. He slips back into dark. "Tomorrow night," Mika says when they are inside the ergastulum again. "Not now. A letter with a seal needs daylight to be trusted. We wait until morning. We let the day make the lie true." Cyrus lies on straw with the 2 wax faces copied in his mind. Tiro lies with the tablet against his chest, hidden under his tunic and under his breath. Miko lies by the steps and listens to the wood. The bell hangs quiet. The dogs dream of rabbits. The steward turns once on his bed and snores again. At daybreak, Livia takes the tablet to the steward with a worried face. "The press beams," she says. "The knot we fix will not hold the weak. We need staves and a fresh beam from the woodman. You said to tell you." The steward blinks at the tablet. The words look like his. The seal looks like his. He does not remember writing it because he did not. He does not think that thought. He thinks instead, "I am a careful man. I am a man who writes down what must be done." He nods. "Good," he says. "Marcus, 10 men. The mule. Barley, West Hill. Tell the warden the steward requires quick hands. Marcus takes the tablet with a nod he hopes looks like a bow. He does not like taking orders from a piece of wood with wax, but he likes being seen obeying the steward. He reads the words, he checks the seal, he grunts, pleased he can read. He calls 10 names in the yard at random. Tiro's name is not called. Cyrus's name is not called. Carbo's name is not called. Carbo's is. Hired men go to the village and come back. They like to be seen with tablets. Miko speaks very softly in the line of work. Change 2 names, he says to Marcus, in a tone that sounds like advice. Take the boy instead of the old Gaul. The old Gaul cannot lift. Take Tiro instead of the Thracian. The Thracian's shoulder is bad from the mill. Marcus frowns. He knows the old Gaul is slow. He knows the Thracian rubs his shoulder at night. He wants the errand to be fast so he can show the steward a good face by dusk. He changes the names. He does not notice that he has put Tyro into a road and left the Thracian in a chain. Cyrus walks to the mill. He will not go on the errand. He will do the second work. Miko stands by the gate. He will not go either. He will make room. Livia ties a small cloth under her apron. Inside are scraps of cheese, a heel of bread, a dried pear sawed in 2. She bumps Tiro with her elbow as he passes. The bump says, "Walk steady." The bump says, "Eat when you can." The bump says, "I am with you." Carbo appears near the eave, dry-eyed after a short sleep. He does not smile. He points with his chin to the north wall. "Your coin," he says. Tiro ties the coin with a hole to the mule's strap by a rawhide thong, tight enough to hold, loose enough to cut if he must. Marcus checks the tablet again. He thrusts it into Carbo's hand. "Show it at the gate," he says. "We do not want questions from the warden. Be back before dark." Carbo nods, like a man who has always carried tablets. The 10 men move. 2 hired men walk at the front. 4 slaves carry ropes and pegs. 2 push a small handcart. Carbo walks by the mule. Tiro walks behind the left wheel, the place where a man can step out of a line and into shadow in one breath if the world opens. The yard gate scrapes. The road takes them. At the village, the warden squints at the tablet. He sees the seal. He sees the steward's name. He sees Carbo's steady eye. He stamps the bottom of the tablet with his own little mark and waves them through. He does not ask why men fetch wood on a clear day when the press is not yet broken again. A tablet is a command, a seal is a voice. Voices are not to be doubted by men who guard small gates. Beyond the village, the road forks. One path west to the woodman's shed, one path north along the ditch toward the hills. Carbo coughs lightly. He drops the tablet in the handcart as if he forgot it. The hired men keep walking west. Carbo waits 2 beats, long enough for distance to open a hand, then turns his head and says, very mildly, "Water." They stop by the ditch. The men bend to drink. The mule lowers its head. Carbo looks at Tiro. Tiro looks at Carbo. Carbo's mouth does not move, but his eyes say, "Now." Tiro drops behind the cart as if to retie a strap. He dips his hand under the cart frame and slides out the coil of rope and the sack of pegs that he and Cyrus hid in the cup last night and tied under the cart this morning while Marcus argued about barley measure with the warden. Carbo coughs again. The hired men look up the road to see if the woodman's smoke is there. It is. They look back down. They see nothing strange. They drink again. "Walk," Carbo says. He means north. He says it like a man saying west. The 10 men walk. The road bends. The ditch deepens. The line grows a tail. The tail empties, one by one, into the ditch, where willow shadows drink men. 2 hired men turn their heads and count. They count 8. They frown. Carbo points west and says, "I see the woodman's boy." They look. They see a boy in a field far away. When they look back, they count 10 again, because Carbo is good at counting and at making other men forget. By the second bend, Tiro is gone from their eyes. He walks low along the ditch with the mule. The coin on the strap knocks softly against the leather. It sounds like a tiny bell. He does not run. He moves like water moves when men stop watching it. Back at the farm, Cyrus begins the second work, the work of meaning. He takes the copy seal, now hard and cool, and makes another tablet with Livia in the kitchen. It orders 2 more men to carry a message to the next farm. Lend us a press beam, ours is cracked. Steward's word, men go. The message is not love, it is a stitch. It pulls the next road into the cloth. Miko teaches Marcus to hate the wrong thing again. He makes the small gates squeal with grease in the hinge, then hush, squeal, then hush. Marcus spends the day fixing and unfixing the little door while the big world moves around him. By dusk he is tired and pleased with work that means nothing. Carbo returns at sunset with a beam, 2 staves and 6 men. The 2 hired men at the front never knew the line change shape. They never saw it lose 2 and gain none. They bring back what the tablet told them to bring. They report that the woodman is slow and the path was muddy near the west hill. They complain about barley measure. They do not mention the ditch because the ditch is for water, not for thought. Marcus nods. The steward nods. The yard eats bread. The dogs sleep. The tablets lie on the table with the steward's seal and the warden's stamp like 2 hands that shook. Night comes. The door with no sky is shut. The chain runs. Cyrus lies on straw and counts the men who came back and the 2 who did not. He knows their faces. He knew they were not ready. He knows they will be ready when the road is longer and the world is louder. He lets them go in his mind so he can keep the others. Tiro walks under tall pines with the mule. He is not alone. Behind him walk 4 men who were not on any master's list. 1 old Gaul, freed by Marcus's thoughtless swap. 1 boy who learned to step into shadow with the cart. 1 kitchen girl sent to carry the tablet and told to return, who did not. And Carbo, who walked the fork with him and then turned back at the second bend so he could come home with the tablet and live long enough to see this road again. Carbo's coin knocks against the mule's strap and tells a story that only 2 men can hear. In the hills, a shepherd with a quiet face points without asking why. He points to a path that runs north and east, to a ruin where men once prayed to a god with no face, to a spring that does not fail in dry months, to a cave where smoke can leave without being seen. He does not talk of laws. He talks of stones and water, and where men can be small and safe. They sleep under trees, not under beams. The sky is a roof with holes that let in stars. Tiro does not wear iron on his ankle. His skin remembers where it was. It itches with memory. He presses his palm to the place and whispers, "Stone brother." The word is a prayer and a promise. By dawn, they move again. They walk small and true. They leave no lines in mud that dogs can read. They enter a world where no tablet commands and no seal speaks, where hunger is still real, but the air tastes like a thing you own. Back at the farm, the steward drinks and says, "Order," as if the word keeps a place whole. Marcus counts jars and thinks the day belongs to him. Miko sits on the step and looks at the road and knows it does not. Days pass. The plan grows legs. More tablets speak. More roads pull. Sometimes men go, sometimes they do not. Sometimes a man is not ready and must be taught to be ready by work. Sometimes the yard is too hot with eyes and the bell says not tonight. The work is slow. The work is sure. The work is a vine, it takes the shape of what it climbs, and then it becomes its own shape. Cyrus learns to press the copy seal so well that even the steward cannot tell which voice is his. Livia learns to move oil and stories with the same hand. Carbo keeps one foot in and one foot on the road. He becomes a hinge that swings the way the plan needs. Miko grows thinner and sharper. He teaches in the dark with a voice made of thread. He tells men again and again, own the moment between two things. One morning, months after the first storm, travelers on the road near the West Hill see an empty cross. Not the one by the farm. Another. The ropes are cut. The beam leans. No body hangs. The wind moves the loose ropes like arms that refuse to learn their lesson. Some say a prowling dog chewed the knots. Some say the gods frowned. Some say nothing at all. But a boy in the village sees 3 small circles stamped into a piece of hard wax near the ditch. 2 vine shoots crossed and a little bird, and beside it a tiny circle like a coin with a hole. He does not know what that means. He plays with it, he loses it, he grows up, he tells his sons about the night the gates squealed, and the steward swore and nothing happened. But later, everything felt different. Not all plans live, not all men leave. Some stays are a choice. Miko stays. He could go. He does not. He chooses to keep the bar oiled, to teach the next man to lift it with leather and patience, to train the next dog to love the wrong Eve, to show the next boy where the thin place is between gate and yard. He is a man who turns breath into roads. He dies one winter with his back warm from the kitchen fire and his hands smelling of straw. On the day they carry him to the elderberry thicket, Livia puts 2 flat stones on him, the way they did for Stone Brother. She says no words. Her face is the prayer. Cyrus stays long enough to make the seal speak for others. Then he goes. He takes nothing that can be counted. He leaves what matters. Tools, habits, a bell code, a way to fill a tablet with a road. He grows a beard in the hills and learns the names of trees. He fixes other people's mills and teaches them to break the right peg on the right night. He is a man with soft hands and a hard heart. He becomes a story told in low voices by fires. Hero does not become a hero. He becomes a man who wakes to sky and learns to sleep without counting bolts. He works with a shepherd and learns to read weather the way he once read the overseer's walk. He learns to keep silence when silence is a tool and to speak when a word opens a door. He keeps Carbo's coin on a thong. He ties it sometimes to a mule's strap and listens to its knock in the dark, like a bell saying, somewhere a road is walking. One day, years later, he meets a boy at a stream who says, I am going south to find work on a farm. They say the owner is fair. Tiro looks at the boy's hands and sees the soft skin of someone who has not yet been a tool. He shows the boy how to make a knot that slips only when you pull it with 2 fingers hidden. He shows him how to listen for the space between 2 sounds. He shows him how to lift a bar with leather and love. He says, if you see a cross by a road, look once and then look away. Remember the shape. Do not forget, but also remember this, you are not wood. The boy nods like boys nod when a man says a thing that sounds like a riddle. He goes south. He becomes another point on a line that began long ago, near a door with no sky. Rome goes on. It builds roads and laws and games. It hangs garlands and men. It writes books about order and speaks noble words about the way of the ancestors. It forgets to look down into ditches. It does not hear ropes that pretend to be wind. It does not know what moves under its feet until one day it feels the ground shift. What does this story mean? It means the hidden world of Roman slaves was not only chains, flogging and crosses. It was also hands. soft hands that learned locks and hard hands that carried beams and made tools lie. It was also minds that counted breaths and found the small place between two things and lived there. It was also risk and loss and waiting and the quiet building of roads no tablet could see. It was also people who chose which deaths would have meaning and which lives would become more than a name on a list. It means power loves to be seen and to make a show by the road. But the things that change the world learn to be small. They move in shade. They speak in codes. They turn habits into hinges and storms into cover. They keep working when the show is over and the crowd has gone home. It means that, then as now, freedom rarely comes in a single shout. It comes in many quiet acts that add up until a wall sounds hollow and a bar lifts with less than a finger. It comes when men and women look at each other in the dark and say with their eyes, "Now," and trust that the word means the same thing to both. And it means that the human cost of Rome's glory was paid in breaths, one, by people whose names are lost, but whose work is not. Their work is the space they learn to own, the thin place where fear ends and choice begins, the breath before the word.